Namaskara and welcome to BIC Talks, a podcast brought to you by Bangalore International Centre, where we present conversations that move, inform, and encourage discourse.
And look at how Kumaravyasa can depict all the rasas. He can be Veera rasa, that heroic and valorous rasa, but he can also do Karuna rasa. It's equally efficient. Bhima caressed her tresses, her hair, wiped her cheeks, stroked her head, and washed her lotus face with water from the jug by the bedside. See how realistic it is. We keep a little water on your bedside. From the jug by the bedside, he said, "My queen, let go of your anger. Why say more? Take it from me. I have crossed the line of my brother's order. I have crossed it. Danti deno, he says at that moment. And on it goes on. So this is an example of how Kumaravyasa constructs a scene with all the surprise and the tension and the going back and forth and everything, and the character comes out beautifully. The characters and the inner psychological turmoil comes out. And then everything leads to a climax, which is this.
Kumaravyasa Bharata is a crown jewel of Kannada literature, beloved by scholars and common people alike. In this 15th century classic, Kumaravyasa reimagines Vyasa's epic, making it more compact, dramatic, and closer to everyday life and language. He dispenses with most didactic material, cuts out subsidiary tales, and concludes with the end of the war. Here, Krishna, who is cool, clever, charming, and charismatic, is the central character. But many others, such as Draupadi, Karna, and Duryodhana, leave an indelible mark. He narrates the story through fast-moving, deftly crafted situations where characters confront grand conflicts and articulate subtle and complex emotions in brilliant metaphorical language. In this series of masterclasses, Professors S.N. Sridhar and Krishnamurthy Hanuru will introduce the audience to several aspects of Kumaravyasa's poetic genius, illustrating them with the modern English translations, the first volume of which has just been published as the Kannada Mahabharata by Hanuru University Press in the Murty Classical Library of India series. The second episode discusses some of the themes, characters, and episodes in Kumaravyasa's Bharata, such as the sexual harassment of Draupadi, the diplomacy of Krishna, the manipulative and determined Duryodhana, the tragedies of Abhimanyu and Karna, the killing of Shishupala, the tragic death of Pandu, and Arjuna's confrontations with Shiva and Urvashi. In this episode of BIC Talks, we will also see the contemporaneity and universality of Kumaravyasa's ideas about class, caste, war, power, human relations, patriarchy, women's status, and so forth.
This series of masterclasses is being held in conjunction with the publication of Volume 1 of the English translation of Kumaravyasa Bharata. And it is a team effort. I want to underline that and emphasize that. I'm one of the translators, one of the 5 translators, and the chief editor of the project. The others are Professor Narayan Hegde, who has done the Sabha Parva, and we will be reading a few verses from there. Professor H.S. Raghavendra Rao, who will be doing Virata Parva and Drona Parva later. And Narayan will also be doing the Gada Parva. Professor C.N. Ramachandran, who has done the Adi Parva here, and he will be doing Bhishma Parva as well. And Professor H.S. Shiv Prakash, who will be doing Udyoga Parva and Karna Parva. So there are 10 Parvas. I am myself doing Aranya Parva and Shalya Parva. This is a team of us, and I'm closing my eyes and in prayer and supplication, hoping that everything will go well. So we have our team members, and also two very important, there are many consultants, very important consultants, but two of them have been working very closely. You see Professor Hanuru's picture on the left, and the second from the right in the back row is Professor K.S. Madhusudana, who could not be here today. And this is another picture of how we work at home, mostly drinking coffee. The Kumaravyasa Bharata is a gallery of memorable characters. There are lots of wonderful characters, each one of them individualized and in many ways different from the way in which Vyasa draws these characters. Krishna, for example, and Draupadi, and Duryodhana, and Karna, and even Arjuna, and all of these things, as you can see, there's a long list. And these characters appear in very dramatic scenes, as I said yesterday. Every scene is drama rather than narrative. It is narrative, but less description, more dialogue. So there is a profusion of dramatic scenes. There are so many of them that I cannot fit them into one screen. I've just given a few illustrative ones. And you are all familiar with that because these things are actually performed in Gamaka recitations. And usually one episode is taken and people talk about that, and there are hundreds of such episodes. And we will be choosing a few of them and talking about them, and so I will not go into that here. And these characters include some of the most interesting women characters in the Mahabharata and in Indian literature, actually. Because Kumaravyasa has a very special corner for women. He is a great advocate for women. He treats women with great respect. He talks about them with great complexity and psychological depth and moral depth. And they are people who argue, who are intellectually strong, and who demand and insist on their rights, and so on. So some of them are people like Kunti, and of course the greatest of them is Draupadi. We'll be focusing on Draupadi. I'll take that as an example. Instead of talking generally about everything, I thought I would take one character and one episode and go into it in some detail. There is, of course, Amba, a very interesting character, and Gandhari, Dhritarashtra's wife, again, very complex. Bhanumati, the wife of Duryodhana, who actually tells him not to do what he is doing, and he doesn't listen, of course. And Satyavati, again, other people, and Madri, etc., etc. And here we'll be talking about Draupadi's character. And of course, there are so many things that they talk about Draupadi, her beauty, her relationship with Krishna is a very interesting one of the most unique in world literature, because they are friends, and good friends, and intimate friends. They joke with each other, but at the same time, she is aware that he is God, and he takes care of her as a younger sister. He protects her, he assures her, and he says that even when he goes for negotiations, he will make sure that there will be what she wants rather than a neutral one. She is intelligent. As I said, she comes up with all kinds of arguments, as we will see. She has guts. She is outspoken. She can defy her husbands. She can plead. She is a fighter. She doesn't accept fate like her husband Dharmaraja does. And she can be harsh in condemning this man's rule, man's world, and patriarchy. She is a victim of sexual harassment 3 times actually in this thing. So we will see, and there are attempts at predation, and she defies them. Notice how he talks about Draupadi's beauty. He says, her gaze is a blade that cuts but draws no blood. Look at how the brilliance of Kumaravyasa's poetry. It's contradictory. It's a blade that cuts, but it draws no blood. A tightly braided rope that lashes but raises no welts. A fire that burns the chest but emits no smoke. Oh my, this sharp gaze, whose throat will it not slice? Whose mind will it not perturb? Who can withstand it, Shiva Shiva? They say. So that's one way of describing Draupadi's beauty. And of course, the most famous scene that we started with the painting of that scene is the attempted molestation of Draupadi in the assembly, in Duryodhana's assembly. So, her husbands have lost the game of dice, and Karna and Duryodhana talk about this, and then Karna suggests that bring Draupadi to the court, and he tries to send Vidura. Vidura says, no, I will not go. And then he sends his own brother Dushasana, and Dushasana, he goes there and he tries to summon her to the court. And she asks a question, and he is angry that she has the guts to ask a question about how she came to be lost in the game of dice. So he says, in Kannada, I will read the original and then the translation. Elliyadu dushprashne. What kind of haughty, what an insolent question. Elliyadu dushprashne. Marumat elliyadu. What answer is needed? Ni pushpavati. She says that I'm having my periods and so I cannot come. She uses the word pushpavati. This is my flowering season. Ni pushpavati yag, alli phalavati yag. He says in a very crude and insolent fashion. If you are flowering here, go bear fruit over there in the Kuru king's place. Ni alli phalavati yagu nade kururaya bhavanadali. Kulla raivaru tamma sotaru, those idiots, those worthless five, have lost themselves. Ballavike yuchitavanu, mauliyanu, alli toru, enuta, tappidan, ahaha, sirimudige. Show off your great knowledge and your face there. With that, ahaha, he uses. Oh horror! He defiled her hallowed braid. Siri mudi, hallowed braid. And what kind of braid was that? Mahisha kratu varadal uddama muni jana rachita mantrastoma pushkala puta punya jalabhishechanada Shri Mudige. Kayikkidanu vara kamini nikurumba akatakata mahasati shiva shiva endu odaritu allal. Notice how Kumaravyasa uses language. We'll be talking about that in the next class. But here is a beautiful example. The first part is all Sanskrit. It's a long compound in Sanskrit. One of you were asking about that. Mahisha kratu varadal uddama muni jana rachita mantra stoma pushkala puta punya jalabhishechana. And it's translated like this. That hallowed braid, sprinkled with holy waters, consecrated by fulsome chants, the mantras, recited by the exalted sages, at that grand royal sacrifice, Mahishakratu, that braid he grabbed with his hand. Kayikkidanu. So that's the Kannada word, a crude, quick verb that he uses, preceded by this long compound of how great and important, solemn her hair was. It was, after all, the queen's hair consecrated during that yaga. As the assemblage of women there gasped, "Oh, shame, shame, the great loyal wife." And so she challenges. She comes to the assembly. He drags her by her hair, kicking and screaming, into the assembly. And there she challenges the legality of her loss. And she says, how legal was it? Who lost first? Who did Dharmaraja lose first? He lost himself first. So he had lost all control over himself. So what right did he have to lose me? So this whole business is illegal. Exactly like Portia does in The Merchant of Venice, remember. So, ಲಲಿತ ಬುದ್ಧಿಗಳೀಗ ನೋಡಿರಿ ಲಲನೆಯನು ಸತಿ ದಿಟ್ಟೆ ಎನ್ನದಿರಿ ಎಲೆ ಸುಯೋಧನ ರಾಜಸಭೆ ಇದು ದೋಷರಹಿತವಲೆ ಗೆಲವಿದೆಂತುಟೋ ತನ್ನ ಸೋಲಿದು ಬಳಿಕ ಸೋತರೆ ಧರ್ಮಗತಿಯನ್ನು ತಿಳಿದು ಹೇಳಲಿ ತತ್ಸಭಾಸದರು ಎಂದಳು ಇಂದುಮುಖಿ. The moon-faced Draupadi, Indumukhi, replied, "Now look at me, Nodi. You clear-thinking people," she is talking ironically about all of these people. Lalita Buddhigal Iga Nodiri, Lalanayanu. Do not think of me as a brazen woman. Sati ditte ennadiri. Don't think that I am being forward. Do not think of me as a brazen woman. You there, Suyodhana, ele Suyodhana, this royal assembly is unblemished, is it not? Raja Sabhe idu dosha rahita vale. How could I have been won, gelavidentuto, if Yudhishthira lost me after losing himself? Tanna solidu balika sotare. Dharma gatiyannu tilidu helali. Let the members of this assembly deliberate and explain the way of dharma. How intelligently she talks, how she knows her rights, how she asserts her rights, how she is not afraid of all these big guns who are sitting there like Bhishma and Drona and all these people, and the emperor himself, and all of that. So, nobody talks. So she questions the legitimacy of this assembly itself. ಹಿರಿಯರಿಲ್ಲದ ಸಭೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯರ ನೆರವಿಯದು ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲ. It's translated like this by Narayan Hegde. An assembly without elders is not an assembly but a mere crowd of men. ಹಿರಿಯರಿಲ್ಲದ ಸಭೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯರ ನೆರವಿಯದು ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲ. They are fools, not elders, who are afraid to call things what they are. Murkharu hiriyaralla, and he uses a beautiful phrase there. Yathartha bhashana bhita chetana. The people who are afraid to call things as they are. Yathartha bhashana bhita chetana. And he says, hiriyaride samajikaru. You elders here are the nobles of society. Samajikaru. Satcharitaru, men of virtue. Strimatavan uttarisalagade. Can you not answer a woman's question on the rules of dharma? Strimatavan uttarisalagade, dharma shastradolu endalindumukhi. And it goes on, as you know, everybody knows the story. I can't go into that. It's beautiful description, very dramatic, how nobody lifts a finger to help her. And so eventually she prays to Krishna. And Krishna hears this in far away Dwaraka. And there he smiles. And his wife asks, "Why are you smiling?" And he says, "Krura Duryodhananu, Drupada Kumari Panchalayanu, Sabheyali Sireyanu Suliyalke, Kayai Krishna endenuta, Nari Oraluttihalu, Utta Sire Seleyalu, Balikal Akshaya Sireyagali, Yenda Gadugina Veeranarayana. Let the cruel Duryodhana is having Drupada's daughter Panchali stripped of her sari in the assembly, and she is wailing, "Protect me, Krishna," while her sari is being pulled away. May it become unending. Akshaya, declared Veeranarayana of Gadugu. So that's how he ends every chapter. Veeranarayana, Gadugina Veeranarayana. Notice the dramatic skill of Kumaravyasa here. He doesn't expand after that. He doesn't say that it actually happened or that her honor was rescued and the other guys were punished, this, that, etc. Nothing. He ends it there at the most dramatic, climactic moment in the episode. So this is how he constructs these episodes. Brilliantly, sparingly, dramatically, and from having a beginning and a middle and a development and a crescendo. It reaches a crescendo in the climax. I will talk about one other episode as an illustration of this. This is not the only time when she is sexually harassed. Kichaka has his eyes on her in the Virata Parva, as you know. They are in incognito. And she is a maid to the queen. And the others are also doing different things. One of her husbands, Bhima, is actually working as a chef in the royal kitchen. So there is Kichaka's harassment. Draupadi goes to the royal, and notice how this scene is constructed. She goes to the royal kitchen, but she has to go in the middle of the night because nobody should see her. And if she is found out, it will be a scandal. And their cover will be blown. And so she goes to the royal kitchen in the middle of the night, and there are several soliloquies along the way, exactly like Shakespeare's soliloquies. She talks about her hesitation in going because she doesn't know how they will react, how Bhima will react. Will he come to my help? And then there is a very surprising reaction by Bhima. You would not expect that in a traditional epic. And then she argues with him. He still stubbornly refuses to help her. And then she condemns him and all the other husbands. She says, what good are you? And she is desperate. She is about to kill herself. And then Bhima finally relents and yields. So that is this scene. I'm going to say a few things about that. She is on her way to the kitchen. So she says, who can I confide in? This is a beautiful thing that says, Aru, it goes on.
Aru.
Who can I confide in? Who can I go to? With whom can I weep? Notice the loneliness of a persecuted woman. With whom can I weep? Who can I plead with? Who can I beseech to protect me? Set fire to this woman's existence. Was there ever a horrible sinner who suffered like me before? Why won't death take me away? She wailed, beating her womb. So she can be as weak and as quote-unquote weak or desperate as anybody. She comes and sees in the kitchen, all the meats that have been prepared for tomorrow's cooking, right? And of course, it's a royal kitchen, so these are huge heaps of things. She sees slaughtered sheep, pig meat, hare flesh, that's rabbit flesh, streaked with blood, plucked bird flesh, meats of split and sliced peacocks and quails, and heaps of cooked meatballs, all neatly organized. Draupadi admired Bhima's meat house kitchen. ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. And notice that this is a Brahmin writing, Kumaravyasa, who probably has never even seen meat, forget about eating it. And then in the middle of all this, look at the drama again. I keep emphasizing the drama of this work. Surprise, surprise, surprise at every moment. In the middle of all this anxiety, she's dying. Kichaka is killing her in a way. And she has come to ask for help. And she has a sense of humor. She says, this Bhima, who did he learn this from? This cooking. And nobody taught him cooking. And he has become a cook and is so nicely organized. This culinary art, and so on and so forth. With a gentle smile, he says, she wondered. She goes inside and he's sleeping with his chadar on top of his head. But a soliloquy right there. Hesitation. Will he flare up if I wake him? Or will he sweetly comfort me, saying, why did you come all by yourself? How come your face is drawn? Will my visit bear fruit? What if someone finds out about my coming? Well, I'll take a chance and wake him up and see, she says. And thus thinking, she approached Bhima. Notice how natural the whole thing is. And he says, no, I won't help you. Go to ask your other 4 husbands, he says. He says, I'm tired of this sequential husbandry, he calls it. 1 year, I am husband, next year another person is husband, and then I have to wait another 4 years.